This conference will now be recorded.
Hi, so thank you again, Laura, for the interview. Again, if you have any technical difficulties, please feel free to chat with Laura in the chat box. My name is Rebecca Eaton, and I'm a librarian at the Hollenbrook branch. Welcome to this afternoon's program. I would like to make a quick announcement about some up and coming programs that might be interests for you here at Hollenbrook. On November 9th, from 10 to 11, we'll be hosting a pregnancy and postpartum support group program. This program is led by Eliza Strawbridge, a LCSW, a psychotherapist who specializes in prenatal population. The group welcomes you and your baby if you wish, as you are exhausted, overjoyed, overwhelmed, anxious, or all the feelings and more that are normal. Come lighten your load with the clinical who cares and peer support. Coffee and light snacks will be provided. Registration is required. On Monday, November 13th from 7 to 8, Hollenbrook Library will be hosting a adult craft and we will be making mason jar leaf lanterns. Registration is required. And lastly, on November 20th from 6:30 to 7:30, Hollenbrook Library will have a program for the kids. It is a snack time Thanksgiving sugar cone cornucopia program. It's a hands-on activity that you'd be able to eat. In the spirit of Thanksgiving, children are invited to come and create an edible cornucopia. For ages 10 and up, registration is required. Please refer to our website, www.mcl.org, or our app, MyMCLSNJ, to find out listings of our recent and special events for both children and adults. Once again, I want to thank everyone for attending this afternoon's program. I quickly just want to go over our liabilities about fitness and health statement. Um, I am in good physical condition and I am able to participate in physical activities. I understand and freely acknowledge assume the risk of inheritance in the participation of physical activities, as with any physical activities, recognizing that there are elements of risk involved. If there are any issues that will affect participation in this event or if any special accommodations need to be made, I will contact the library. I do hereby waive release and hold harmless to Mercer County Library System, its officers, supporters, supervisors, and representations for any injuries that may survive me from a normal course of participation in the SIMS program and the activities inherited therefore within the result of negligence or any other causes. As a friendly reminder, all health and medical information should always be discussed with your physicians, especially if investigation any changes in your health regimen. Here to talk to us today about being physically active in the home during winter months is Ricardo Carcios. Ricardo Carcios is an assistant professor at Rutgers Cooperation Extension of Mercer County. Good morning, Ricardo.
Hi, good morning. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Am I good to go? Should I take over?
Yes, you can.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you also for that disclaimer that you gave. So I'm very happy that you gave that great disclaimer and that I don't really have to dig into that about we're going to be talking about physical activity today. And some of the resources I'm sharing are from the physical activity guidelines for Americans. And just so y'all know, these are the latest guidelines on the latest research on physical activity and health. But I would like to just kind of piggyback that disclaimer that especially if physical activity is a new activity for you, you should definitely talk to your doctor. Definitely learn if your doctor has any suggested limitations. But you could maybe even what I'm sharing today are the general guidelines. So we're going to be talking about different types of physical activity, and that might give you that tool to even specifically talk to your doctor about that. To say, hey, I learned about this type of activity. Do you have any suggestions or limitations based on my medical needs? And wherever I have you from there. So thank you again for having me. My name is Ricardo Kairios. I'm with the Department of Family and Community Health Sciences, and we're in the Rutgers Cooperative Extension Office of Mercer County. So the Rutgers Cooperative Extension is kind of the outreach portion of Rutgers University. So Rutgers University has three main campuses: Newark, New Brunswick, and Camden. And in every county in New Jersey, there's a Rutgers Cooperative Extension Office, the outreach portion. So I know Laura in the chat box put our website, and if y'all have any questions about the programs in the Mercer County Extension Office, please feel free to reach out to us. And yeah, I'm happy to be here. I actually just started off in my position this past July, and this is my first virtual lesson with the library system. So again, thank you for having me here. And I will like to say I'll be back here in the library system again in December talking about some small tips of healthy eating around the holiday season. And I'll be back again in January to make sure that we're moving still, okay? So you can think of today's presentation as kind of the groundwork, because I don't know how many folks have come on here and talked about the basics of physical activity. So there might be a lot you already know about this presentation, and I hope that you get maybe some extra tips you might not have thought of, or this might be a brand new topic for folks. So I really want you to leave from today's presentation is just know the basics about physical activity and simple things you could do to engage in physical activity, especially at home, and easy way with the resources you have available. So I'm going to share my screen, and let me just get this started. Although, most questions may be towards the end, I will let you know I am going to try to see if I could still see the chat box. So please do use the chat box live if you do have questions. And if there are opportunities for me to kind of add to the content live, I'd be happy to do so. But I think everybody's seeing my main screen here. So thank you again for having me. Just to give a quick Justice for All a statement that Rutgers Cooperative Extension is an affirmative action equal opportunity employer, and that Rutgers Cooperative Extension programs and materials are open to all without regard to race, color, national origin, gender identity, religion, age, height, weight, disability, political belief, sexual orientation, marital status, family status, or veteran status. So like I said, for today's presentation, the agenda is going to be a quick overview of the health benefits of physical activity. So when going over those health benefits, again, you might already know some, you might not have known some, so some might be real fresh to you and new. And I just want you to think about that. What is relative to you? What's important to you? What kind of sticks out to you? I'm going to go over the 3 main different types of physical activity that I will be highlighting in this presentation, and how you can engage in those 3 different types of activity regularly throughout the week. With that being said, there are different levels of activity and intensity. So I want you to have a good understanding of how to judge. Is this a high level intensity activity I'm engaging in, or is this a low level that I'm engaging in? And again, I want you to leave with some tips of being active at home. There's some great resources provided by the United States Department of Health and Human Services related to physical activity that are great tools that are accessible for you to use after this presentation. And yeah, it's always good to set goals. So after what you hear today, I want you to be thinking about, are there any small things that kind of stuck out to you? And are there any small goals from those small things that you might be able to do throughout the week to kind of engage in physical activity? So what are the benefits of being active? Before I dig in there, I kind of want y'all to think about that. Some obvious ones might stick out to y'all. Health promotion. People say very often, physical activity is really good for your health. So what health promotion activities do y'all know of? Or besides physical health, have y'all ever heard of any emotional health benefits of being physically active? So I'm going to shout out a few. Like I said, some might be new and some might be, and some might be ones you already kind of hear regularly. So health promotion, of course, physical activity. It's suggested and recommended to engage in physical activity for health promotion and chronic disease prevention. And I'd really like to highlight, when we talk about health promotion, especially with physical activity, we're talking about healthy heart. So that is, to make sure that we're preventing chronic disease like heart disease, reducing the potential of developing heart disease. And it's also for maintaining, certain chronic diseases like, for example, type 2 diabetes. It's suggested that physical activity has benefits of maintaining that and has improvements for engaging in physical activity to maintain that type of disease monitor. Another benefits besides just general health promotion is improved physical function. When you engage in certain types of physical activity, it makes your body more used to it. You actually become quicker reaction times the more you engage, especially for balance types of activities. The more you engage in different types of flexibility or balance activities, it improves your functions. And I'm sure most people have heard physical activity is really important for weight maintenance. And that is just to maintain our regular weight. Most people say, calories in, calories out type of deal. And engaging in regular physical activity is important to maintain your current weight maintenance. But there are further health benefits, further benefits that if a goal of yours was to lose weight, you do have the opportunity to engage in more physical activity if weight loss was a goal. So it's important for general weight maintenance, and there are also weight loss opportunities if that was a goal. Aside from those matters, and I was kind of hinting to it a little earlier when talking about emotional health and well-being, is that there are benefits, especially related to anxiety and depression, for engaging in regular physical activity. There's research that shows that folks who have engaged in regular physical activity have seen these benefits, and even within the first few times that they were active. They say that within even the first 24 hours of engaging in physical activity, you could get those benefits to help reduce anxiety and depression. So those are really fast acting, the health promotion thing, those are long-term goals that we're talking about. But even sometimes with those weight maintenance and goals. But for really fast acting effects, anxiety and depression, people really feel those effects after the first few times you're active. And the same with improved sleep. There's been studies that show that physical activity improves the quality of sleep and overall quality of life for folks. And the last highlight that I'd like to say here, see, there's a lot of different things. So I want y'all to kind of sink in, like what's important for you, what might be important for either yourself as an individual or your family. And the last thing is certain activities do reduce the risk of fall-related injuries. And we're going to talk a little bit later about balance types of activities and activities that help improve your bone health. And those are really activities that engaging in those types of activities help reduce the risk of fall-related injuries. Okay, great. So, what are the three major types of physical activity? So, the three I'm really going to highlight here are the aerobic physical activity, which is our heart and our lungs. And this is pretty much a common one that folks know about, moving more when folks are jogging or walking with brisk walk, that's that heart and lungs type of activity. Then we have our muscle strengthening activities that specifically target certain muscle areas to work on muscle development and growth and also bone health. And then lastly, like I kind of mentioned earlier, there's flexibility and balance types of activities. And specifically, I'm looking at those more so for the joint health and the bone health. So let's dig on into this first type, aerobic activity, okay? And this is the one that I mentioned is affecting your heart and your lungs. Okay, so we engage in these types of activities, and the organs that we're really working is we're trying to get our heart beating and our lungs breathing more and kind of gasping for breath. And some common ones that y'all might think about is, of course, if you are engaging and you're riding a bike, that's a great activity that's getting you moving and testing your heart and lungs. Swimming is fabulous. Walking and brisk walking, and if you're, however speed you're able to go, challenging your heart and lungs with different types of activities. There's plenty of them. The last one you see there is a dancing type of activity. So, we're really thinking here, I'm kind of sharing some tips y'all could be doing at home. So this is that first type of activity. I want y'all to be brainstorming during this presentation. What kind of aerobic activities am I able to do at home? And kind of just to share a little bit about myself, I'm definitely the phone call pacer type. So there are plenty of times where I am pacing around, even in a small circle in my home, while I'm on a call. And we always say to just sit less, right? But sometimes, if I'm not really breathing hard or breathing heavy, it might not do too much. But, if I'm trying to sit less, even walking around and sitting less is a small little action. But there's plenty of other opportunities, like we hear sometimes during commercial breaks and watching television shows, you're able to get up, If you're able to do jumping jacks during the break, that is the type of activity that starts getting your heart pumping and getting your lungs really breathing deeply, challenging that type of intensity. So I want y'all to kind of brainstorm that. And if you don't mind putting in the chat box, what ideas do you think you could do at home that other folks might be able to, go based off of? What kind of activities at home that are safe for you to do that challenge your heart and your lungs? And while we brainstorm that, I do want to share, the quick tips on how much aerobic activity should adults do in a week. So, we know we got to get up, we got to get moving. I told you this activity is so important for our heart and our lungs. Thank you, Laura. Somebody put stair climbing, and Eric, that's right. Stair climbing is so great. And even if you just have a few stairs, depending on your speed, that could definitely be a challenge. Going up 2 to 3 stairs and going right back down, and going up and going down. I'm sure after a few times up and down, you're going to be gasping for your breath. Great. Awesome. Thank you for the suggestions. So when thinking about how long we should be active for, I want to say every minute counts. It all really does add up. But based on current recommendations, we should be aiming to get at least 150 to 300 minutes a week of moderate intensity activity. And now I'll explain in our next slide what moderate intensity is. And I really want you all to know what that means, because that gives you the ability to judge. Like, is this an activity that I'm going to get some benefits from? Am I engaging in physical activity? Knowing that intensity is really important. But I just want us to be realistic about this timeline. 150 minutes a week, right? So if I'm trying to engage in, at least 3 days a week, that's the recommendations. 150 minutes divided by 3 is less than an hour. For 3 days a week, you could get that. But like I said, every minute counts. If that sounds like a lot to someone, if you're not really engaging right now in as much physical activity as suggested, and you're trying to get to that 150 minute, even doing 15 minutes here and there goes a long, long way, okay? So that might look different to everybody, that map. Some folks, they'll feel good doing an hour, 3 days a week. Hey, I'm doing my 150 minutes, Other folks, they'd rather go for a 15-minute walk in the morning, maybe before school or work or whatever you have to do that day. And then they'd like to do a half hour or a 15-minute walk afterwards with the family, if they'd like to. And that's how they like to add up their time. So I really want you to think about your work schedule, your life schedule, your other commitments in life, and think about what would work for you. And now I will like to just add, while we're on this slide, 150 minutes is kind of like the baseline recommendation, okay? That's the recommended amount for us to really get those health promotion, chronic disease prevention benefits. But the closer to that 300 mark we go, the more benefits we're going to be getting, the more health benefits, okay? So I will like to say, if we're not getting those 150 minutes a week now, let's make that a little bit our goal. Let's start slowly and be trying to work our way to getting that 150 minutes, okay? But once we're at that point where we're getting our 150 minutes in, if we're feeling good, I would like to say, let's challenge ourselves to get to that closer to that 300-minute mark, okay? Because that's that mark where we're getting closer and closer. And like I said, it could look different for everything. I could go on a really fun hike where I'm getting my lungs and heart beating, and that could be a 2-hour hike that weekend, where I got a big chunk of my activity. And during the week, I'll do different activities and fit that in. But, I just really want you all to be thinking about how that works for your schedule. So I said, what is activity? And before I dive in here, please do take a quick look at that chat box, because y'all are filling it up with different types of activities out here, which is fabulous. I see walking the dog. I have 2 puppies at home. That definitely challenged me in that physical activity, but it is a great thing to do. I see some folks saying lawn care, absolutely lawn care, especially if it's a type of activity that starts to get your heart and lungs pumping, walking back and forth. And lawn care will also count as our muscle building, that we'll talk about that in a minute. So what is a moderate intensity activity? Let's take a quick look at this. So I put in this little visual here of this chart, okay? And now this is different for everybody, but this is what we call an activity intensity scale, okay? That lowest intensity, that number one, is really sitting and doing nothing. Okay. We could think of number one. We're all at that number one right now. Our bodies are moving themselves, but we're not moving. This is not, I'm not doing anything extra intensity to challenge my body. And you could think of 10 as your most intense intensity. Okay. That is like, oh my gosh, if I'm at a 10, I'm really huffing and puffing. I'm probably hunched over a little bit. I'm really, you're not talking to me at all because I'm too concentrated on my breathing. Okay. So I want y'all to think about this. And the reason I put the arrows going from the left to right and back is that this scale does change live, okay? So let's just say I'm walking here with Rebecca, okay? And we're walking up the block, okay? In one or two blocks, I might start realizing that I'm huffing and puffing and I'm starting to get to a 5 or 6, and Rebecca might still be at a 2, still walking up there, okay? But, and in a minute or two, if Rebecca slows down for me, my intensity might go back down now to that 1 and 2. It's going to go back down, okay? And that's where now I'm going to speed up again and make sure I'm back up in that 4 or 5 realm, okay? So I just want to let you know that this scale fluctuates, and by how much activity you're kind of engaging in. So when we say 150 minutes of moderate activity, okay? This is saying that we want to be in the realm of this activity scale between the 4 and the 6, okay? And a good test for this is using the talk test. Now, I don't know if anybody heard the talk test, okay? But, depending, if I was walking on this presentation, it would be really great right now. So the best example I could see, not everybody has seen it, but there's a joke about folks on the elliptical and they're talking the entire time back and forth, right? So I'll just use Rebecca because she's my buddy over here. If Rebecca and I are hanging out on the elliptical and we're talking the whole time, we're at that low. We must be between the 1 and 3 because we're not really having any issues in our combo. I'm keeping full dialogue here. But once it gets to the point, maybe Rebecca and I are kind of moving a little faster. Maybe we pumped it up. Maybe, maybe our legs are going a little higher, that I have to stop and I have to catch my breath a little bit because I can't talk so solid. It's getting harder to breathe a little bit. And that is the talk test. That's telling me, wait a minute, my heart's starting to go and it's still getting a little harder to catch my breath, okay? And that's getting to that 4 or 6. This is where we want to be with our intensity to get that moderate intensity, okay? Another quick example I would say for myself is going upstairs. If I'm going to the 10th floor, I might be going up the first and second stair and like it's no problem and I'm just hanging out here. But, once we're going up those stairs together, by stair 3, 4, I might start breathing heavy and ask you to slow down a little bit because my intensity is going to roll up. And who knows, if I don't slow down by the 6th floor, I might be at that 7, 8 mark where I'm just huffing and puffing. I can't even talk at all to you. Okay, so it's just another example. But I will like to say this chart is different for everyone. So it's important for you to just think about your own intensity scale. Think about yourself. Think about the activities you do, okay? And think about, we want to sit less. We want to move more, okay? But, if we're going on our walks and we're noticing that our whole walk, we're just, at that low mark, we're at that 1 to 3, this is a good opportunity to say, ooh, is this walk getting me to that moderate zone or should I walk a little faster or should I lift my legs a little higher to challenge myself? What could I do? Or do I bring some weights with me to get myself to that moderate zone so I can make sure I'm getting the benefits of being active, okay? Okay, I'd love to talk to anybody about that scale in the future if you have any questions. But let's just give you a few more examples of this, okay? So if we're walking, depending on how much we're walking, if we're walking at a steady pace, if we have some hiccups between our breath, we might be at moderate, and then we might be at vigorous when we're really getting out there. Same thing for swimming. For casual swimming, I'm sure I'm going to be huffing and puffing a little bit. I'm doing more activity than just, walking mildly, so I'm sure I'll get to moderate. But when I'm, if I'm racing a buddy or, racing someone or family member, I might be more at the vigorous, okay? And these examples could be used and many different activities, okay? And there are many ways, like I said, that you might be able to add a little bit more intensity to your activity to get yourself to that moderate or that vigorous point. Great. So, quick tip. I think I already gave a few already, but how can you tell if you're being active? Well, we talked about the talk test, but it's when you're breathing heavier and your heart is beating faster, okay? That's how we could tell for that aerobic activity. And every little bit counts, please. So, it's really good to set us up for success here. Well, I told you, later, let's talk about goals a little bit. So if physical activity and engaging in this moderate to vigorous activity is newer for you, please do set yourself up for success. Maybe start off a little bit counts. Every little bit counts. Maybe doing 10 minutes in the morning and 10 minutes in the afternoon and 10 minutes in the evening. That's the best way for you to get your half hour. And, it might be overwhelming to think of it in one shot. Okay. So just, give yourself that grace and don't hold back because every little bit counts. So let's take a quick dive into muscle strengthening activity. So like I told you, the aerobic is the heart and the lungs, right? And muscle strengthening activity is really addressing our muscles and really, aiming to support our muscle health and our bone health. Okay. And there are many different ways that folks can engage in muscle type of activity. So here, I know I did a few cliche with weights, and weights is of course an obvious one, but there are many different tools that folks could do, including even some yard work like folks mentioned in the chat box, or might be small subtle ways to engage in muscle building activity. So let me just highlight a few, opportunities. Weights, like we said, could be one thing. I will kind of mention with weights, you don't have to buy weights. I'm sure, okay, now, y'all were fantastic in the chat box. So on this section of muscle building activities, okay, if anybody would like to share in the chat box, what activities at home do you think you're engaging in muscle building activities, okay? And I said lifting weights first, but that does not have to be the typical weight. I have a water bottle here. If I was moving my arms in a circle right now, right, and I'm just using the weight of my arm as a weight, okay? Adding a simple water bottle to that movement adds a little bit more intensity than there was before, okay? And there are so many household weights. Like you could use a can of beans as a simple one. When I'm doing arm lifts, if I'm doing it alone, I could be using beans to do so. Or even, I use pods for my dishwasher detergent. That's heavier than beans. So maybe if I'm doing certain types of squats at home, I'll hold that pod or a textbook, okay? So if anybody has any advice, I see wood splitting. Oh my gosh, I'm sure that's doing a lot of muscle building for your back, your upper body, your arms, lifting and carrying heavy, full laundry baskets. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And if you're aware of your body stance and your position, every lift could be a beneficial lift, and it's so important to be aware of how we're using our body. Gallons and jugs of water, absolutely. Any types of drinks like that. Even sometimes, if you, like maybe when you finish your jug of water or you finish your pods, you might, be able to fill that up to add more weight. Maybe keeping a leftover jug of water just to fill up with, water, just for physical activity is a great way to reuse. Wow, great stuff. Resisting bands is a fabulous one. They come at usually in stages. There's usually a light one to like a harder resistance. And those are usually, I would say, you might be able to find them less than $10. I want to say less than $5 in clearing sections of certain stores, honestly, just in case that is of interest to you. And then different types of calisthenics, which is using your body weight as resistance, okay? So that, of course, most people might see is like a push-up, right? There are many variations of push-ups. If you don't want to get on the floor, you could do a wall push-up using your own body weight as resistance. Even doing squats is using your own body weight. There's many different types of ways you could do that. I will say, before I use my next section, okay, because we're talking about doing things at home, I didn't want to feature any one-off video, but we are in a digital world where you could look up a video for anything. So if I said one thing here during this lesson that you're like Ricardo said, I could use my own weights at home, use calisthenics, my own body weight, I'm sure you could find many different videos specifically for that, okay? And if anybody would like help specifically to find a certain resource, please reach out to me. Okay, most folks here mention it. Heavy gardening, absolutely a fabulous way to, use your muscles in various different ways. Carrying heavy loads like laundry or other things like bags. Somebody said grocery bags, absolutely. Holding babies or pets while walking. Oh my gosh, is that not the truth, right? And as I said earlier, I have a puppy that is growing very, very fast. So the heavier my puppy gets, the more challenge and resistance for me, even better, right? Somebody said digging holes, fabulous. Okay, you all listed a lot of great examples. I would like to just mention that when we're doing our muscle strengthening activities, okay, it's really important to think of all of your body's muscles, okay? So I think during this call, I mentioned a lot that might be working your upper body. Like we can't forget about our upper body. We need good posture, right? The older, and as we continue to age, no matter how old we are, we want to be making sure that our posture is still good. So making sure not just hitting our arms, but our back, and our shoulders. So there's different types of exercises that we could do at home to aim different body muscles, but we need our whole body muscles. We need a healthy back. We need healthy legs, so just keep that in mind with muscle strengthening. Even somebody mentioned stairs earlier. There's certain movements you can work out your legs and your calves using your stairs and doing simple dips at home. And those are, if you do a few of those here and there throughout the week, those are great ways to make sure that you are supporting your healthy muscles. Okay. This is a great resource for Move Your Way, which is from our U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, right? And I will say that so we talked about how many minutes of aerobic heart and lung physical activity we should get a week, and we said 150 minutes at least, right? 150 to 300 minutes is the goal, right? Now, for muscle strengthening activities, they say a goal is to do it at least 2 days a week, okay? At least. So that's where I said, maybe one day you might do one activity at home to kind of focus on the upper body, and maybe another day you might do an activity on the lower body, okay? So, but at least twice a week, we want to be thinking of those muscle strengthening activities, okay? And there is a quick note here that although we say 150 minutes a week for moderate, if you really are getting to that vigorous point, some folks here, maybe at that level that your physical activity you prefer to really challenge yourself vigorously, if the more intensity you do add, the recommendation is you could then do 75 minutes a week, just to kind of throw that out there. Okay, so I briefly mentioned flexibility, and I just want to bring this up again. It's really important. I mean, I just to overshare, I have arthritis, so I'm always just being aware of my body, listening to my body, my positionings of things, okay? And flexibility and balance are really an important part of physical activity, and these activities enhance the ability for your joints to move, especially to that full motion range. So stretching activities increase this type of flexibility, and balance activities are also really important for bone health. So I said earlier that there's 3 types here. There's the aerobic, there's the muscle strengthening, and then there's the bone health, these types of balance activities, okay? So I will say this is even especially while we continue to age, we really have to think about our bone health. This figure just shows a few different examples of stretching, a few different examples of different movements you could do to stretch different joints. But then as you see on the top, on the right-hand side, this individual, while they're stretching, they're leaning on one leg. And I would like to say those types of leaning on one leg, even leaning up against the wall, those types of balance activities go such a long way for bone health, okay? So just let's not forget to do these types of flexibility. Maybe this might be an added 5 minutes to your morning 10, 15-minute walk. You spend an extra 5 minutes stretching or doing some type of balance, or maybe this is your 10 minutes in the morning. Maybe you're spending 10 minutes stretching and balancing in the morning, and then in the afternoon is when you're going to do your 20 minutes of some type of heart and lung activity. And just the last note I'd like to add up to, because we kind of, especially when we talked about easing into things, warming up and cooling down is really important and helpful. This is to gradually get your heart to that pumping zone. We don't want to just be like sitting down right now and now I'm just going to start running around. Okay. I want to get my heart to that zone gradually. And that's what warming up really is. So we showed that intensity scale earlier. So before you get to the 5, warming up is starting off in that 2 to 3 zone. So spending the first 5 minutes kind of getting your heart pumping, and then you get to the moderate zone. And when it comes to muscle building activity, warming up could be simply doing the movements without the weights to get your body into the movement, or it could be doing the movements with a lesser weight. So, before grabbing the jug of the laundry detergent, you could use a can as a lower weight when doing the arm activities as a warm up to using that larger weight. Okay, so our quick reminder, we got to sit less. We got to focus on sitting less. So we got to get up and move around, okay? Keep that in mind. Let's make sure we're moving more. And if we are sitting, let's just make sure that we're self-reflecting, okay? Because sometimes, I do like to play my video games sometimes. And I will find myself sitting for an hour or two and realizing, oh my gosh, I've been sitting for a while. And so let's make sure we have those self-checks, okay? To say, hey, Ricardo said stretching so good. I've been sitting for a while. Let me get that 5-minute stretch in before I just continue to sit. Or, Ricardo said I don't need to do a whole lot at once. I've been sitting for a while. Let me go do 20 minutes of some type of walking or some type of activity to get my body moving, okay? Or, there's those simple things at home, like I said, even the squats or using your body for weights is something you could do in between. So let's check out some resources from Move Your Way. This is being recorded. Thank you for asking. So it will be on the library YouTube page. And if folks have any questions, you can reach out to me as well. I'd be happy to share these resources. So one thing that I'm going to be sending this out to y'all, but I put in a QR code. So especially since it's recording, you go check it out. This is a really cool tip that Move Your Way has available. Again, Move Your Way is a program from the Department of Health and Human Services. So straight from the source, straight from the people that make the physical activity guidelines for Americans. And you can actually use this link to go onto the website and make your own activity plan. So, if you're really into what I'm talking about now and you're like, how do I start? Where do I start? You don't have to stress that. You could just go onto this website and check it out, okay? And this is really custom to you. I just did it myself, actually. There's so many great resources for food, nutrition, and physical activity out there. And what I was really able to do, I was able to select the activity I like, my goals, what motivates me. So I really wanted to make sure I share this with you. And I hope my audio is working. So this is my first time using this type of platform. So please let me know if for any reason, I'm just going to see if I could optimize my video now, my audio now. But I think it should work. So in the next few slides, I just have a few videos that I hope help summarize some of the things that I'm kind of going over. But again, sit here, reflect, think about what's sticking out to you, okay, in these videos. Thank you. Just so y'all know, the audio is just music, okay? So I apologize, but I just want to let y'all know I'm sorry that there's no audio, but it's elevator music. Awesome, awesome. Did anything stick out to anybody? Please put in the chat box if anything from that video, any of those tips might have resonated for you. Somebody asked for tips on balance. I would love to send that out. I don't want to overshare on anybody's tips or steal anybody's tips, but something I didn't really cover is planning ahead. So I love that that one video really highlighted, the importance of making sure we plan ahead, put clothes out, um, really about being flexible with yourself. I really like how that one person had a written goal. They had a sign. I hear people do post-its sometimes. And they were able to kind of re-edit that sign to be like, you know what, I didn't do my 15 minutes. I'm doing 5 minutes, and I'll readjust for the week. So yeah, awesome, cool. I have another really cool video that shows kind of a different perspective of being at home. So I hope that this one is helpful to you. And 1 second. Okay. And Harriet, I will come back for a program on balance. I promise. Thank you for that. I will definitely do that. That's a great tip. Let me just see real quick if I could just optimize one more time um, for this video. But if the sound doesn't work, I just want us to just be looking at the tips. And it's just like motivating elevator music. So I'm sorry, I'm enjoying that myself. Okay. Awesome. Okay, so in that video, hopefully you saw a few of the tips you already shared. A lot of this regular household things that folks might already do. People in this video were able to really kind of take advantage of those easy steps. I don't know if you saw the one person gardening outside was kind of really making sure that when they squatted, it was a full squat. They were taking advantage of that movement. Yeah, comment if anything stuck out to y'all. Please comment in the chat box. Let other folks know. And I got one last video before I let y'all go. But before you go, I do have a survey from Rutgers, okay? So before you really go, please don't forget to do my survey, okay? But I'm going to share this one last video that talks about getting active indoors, and especially with folks in your family, if that is a support system that works for you, because having that accountability and that buddy system is really good. So whatever family looks like to you, or whatever support looks like to you, it is a really great step. And also, there may be community groups that are available to kind of show that support. So, it might not even be in the household per se, but it might be, part in the community. Awesome. Thank you everyone for watching my video. So I just want to shout out, this one was talking about, again, having that support, engaging with youth. So if there's any youth in the household, it's so important for everybody to engage in physical activity. And for youth, anybody under 18, young people under 18, we say 60 minutes a day. Okay. So that is that goal. Fabulous. Great. So with these resources, I will be sharing out on the left-hand side this one-off resource that has a lot of breakdown of what I shared today. That's a great reference from the Department of Health and Human Services. This is for adult audiences. It does come in Spanish. So if you or anybody would like a Spanish version, or if you're looking for one specifically for youth or older adults, there are other variations that I'd be happy to send you. So please let me know. And then on the right-hand side, I do want to shout out, I'm with the Department for Family and Community Health Sciences, and we do a Wellness Wednesday webinar every Wednesday from 12:30 to 1:30. And the reason I'm shouting this out is that we do recordings of past webinars. And on the right-hand side, you'll find webinars specifically on physical activity. So, today's workshop got you thinking a lot, and you're like, oh my gosh, I want other activities. I know, Harriet, you talked about balance, and I'm trying to look here if there's any balance ones, which I don't see, so I got to get on. But just so y'all know, there are other videos there that you can watch from our website that I'd be happy to send you to. So quick review, different health benefits of physical activity. I want y'all to just think of, what really sticks out to you of those health benefits, whether it's the health promotion or chronic disease prevention, benefit of being physically active, or if it's the, improved sleep quality or quality of life or stress. The three different types, those aerobic, the heart and the lungs, the muscle building activity and different balance activities, knowing that intensity scale and what to you, those different feelings of intensity, and those different tips. And Here is that quick guide again, that quick reflector. But like I said, it is really good to set goals. So if you want to just think real quick, take a moment to think to yourself, you know, what are two benefits of being active that are important to you, and or what are two types of moderate to vigorous activities that you might want to do this week. So, think about that to yourself. Maybe write a note down so you don't forget later. Or I text myself, honestly. So if I have a reminder, I might text myself and be like, don't forget, you need better sleep. So, that's a benefit to you. And this week you will be active by what? And today's a nice sunny day, so maybe today I'll be active by going for a walk with my puppy at a good speed to get my heart and lungs moving. Like I said, I do have a survey, and I would just really appreciate if you all could just complete my survey. This is a survey from Rutgers University just about the presentation quality. It is anonymous. Um, I will I'll put it in the chat box, because if folks are able to kind of get it done now, that would be awesome. But I will also, I know Laura mentioned that these slides will be shared out, but let me put this in the chat box just in case. But while I put the survey in the chat box, are there any questions? And you can use this QR code to click on the survey, by the way. But if folks have any questions while I'm pulling this up, I'd be happy to chat. And thank you. And thank you for having me. So I'm not going to change the slide because it has my survey, but there is a thank you slide after this. I have our website that you can check out and my email. Okay. So if anybody would like to chat, give our office a call. I'm happy to chat, or send me an email and say, hey, Ricardo, you talked about this resource.
So Ricardo,
Go
oh
ahead.
yeah, sorry,
Yeah.
Ricardo. Yeah, we have one question from Ruth. Do you have any resources for folks with limitations?
Yes, I could pull up. There is a specific resource, like, to be aware of. And I will say that kind of does bring us root to that beginning point of like, make sure we talk to the doctor. Like if you kind of brought these three different examples to your doctor and said, like, what do you suggest? Or is there anything I should be aware of? But I will, though, send out that generic kind of like guide, that was developed by the Department of Human Health and Human Services for you. Awesome. Are there any other questions? And thank you for joining. I really appreciate it. Like I said, I'll be at another one next month and in January. And if there are any specific topics that you want to hear me talk about, please hit up Anne or Rebecca or Laura and let them know. Like one of them seems to be balanced. And I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, so I guess this concludes our program. I want to thank you once again for attending, and thank you, Ricardo, for sharing your time with us this afternoon. If you have any follow-up questions, please email the library and we can press them along to me. You will receive an email follow-up with additional resources or questions or answers to the questions. Have a wonderful evening, and we hope to see you sometime in our up and coming programs. Thank you very much, everyone. And thank you again, Ricardo. This is a great, great, great presentation. I definitely took a lot of information from this for myself, and I think everyone had a great time. Thank you so much again.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.